Hello everyone, I'm Paul. Welcome to RC Foam Fighters. Basically this is part one of a new video series that I'm doing on a brand new airplane that I'm going to be building made out of foam board materials. The plane's going to be called the Foam Fighter Bird of Prey, or FF-BOP. It's an airplane that's kind of loosely based on and inspired by Boeing's Bird of Prey, which was basically a stealth aircraft that they used to experiment and test the technologies that they later used, I guess, in some of the UAVs they are currently designing now. At least that's what I read on the internet. But basically, let's take a look at the design that I'm developing and see what you guys think. Okay guys, just for a quick look, here's some pictures of the actual Boeing Bird of Prey airplane. Basically, this is the plane that inspired the Foam Fighter Bird of Prey that I'm building now. As you can see, it's a pretty cool looking and original design from Boeing. So that's going to be kind of the basis of the airplane that I'm going to be building here. So let's take a look at the design that I come up with and see what you guys think. Okay guys, here's kind of a quick look at the design that I've come up with versus the original and real Boeing Bird of Prey. Basically, my design, like I said, is going to be loosely based on their design, and it's basically a plane that's inspired by their design. There were some changes and concessions I had to do and make to the plane, or the model that I'm making, because it is built out of foam board, and just some of the other characteristics of the actual model plane versus the real plane. One of the first things that I did modify, as you can see, the root wing cord is actually a lot wider versus the real plane, and basically the main reason why I was doing this was to strengthen the actual wing, because I knew if I made it real skinny like this, it's going to be really weak unless you put some big carbon fiber spars in there. My plan is I'm basically going to try and build a plane and fly it without any carbon in the wings. And another concession with the wings, I actually have them at a higher angle. If you were looking at it from the front view, the dihedral angle is a lot more angled than on the real plane. And the major reason for doing this was to get the wingtip vertical stabilizers up off of the ground. So when you come in for a belly land, because my plane is not going to have any landing gear, I wanted to keep those up off the ground. Otherwise, if you had them low, those would be pretty much the only things that hit the ground first, and they'd probably rip and damage the wings. So that's one of the other major concessions. Another slight modification is the cockpit. It's a little bit different than the shape and actual size of the real plane. I just did that because it's going to be made out of foam board, and this size and shape will be a little bit easier to make. But I think it's still going to be close enough to kind of resemble the Bird of Prey by Boeing, and it's going to be, basically a lifting body type design. Okay guys, here's the 3/4 scale mock-up I built of the Foam Fighter Bird of Prey. Basically, I built this to do some tests of the way the plane will fit together, and also do some glide tests to help me find the center of gravity. Actually, this plane, it seemed like it would glide actually very well. And it helped me find where I think the center of gravity is going to be on the real model that I'm building. So let's get on to building the model and see how it all comes out. Okay guys, let's get started with the build. Basically, we're going to start off, I've got most of the basic templates created, and they're all cut out and taped together. Then I'm just going to tape them down onto the foam board and start cutting out the pieces. Okay guys, as you can see here, I got most of the major parts all cut out of the foam board now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it into the garage and throw it on top of cardboard, and I'm going to throw down some paint on top of it to give it some basic color. I'm just going to be using this Tester's paint here. It's gloss gray, and the Tester's paint is foam safe also, so you don't have to worry about it on foam or Depron. Works pretty good. So let me get some paint down, and then after that we'll start assembling the plane. Okay guys, I got the basic paint down on the parts that need to be painted. I actually ran out of the paint that I originally was using, so I ended up grabbing another can that I had. It's a little bit different color. It's just the flat gray primer that I use, but it kind of blended with the other color I had, and I think it came out okay. Should be good enough at least for the test plane. So let's get on to building the plane and see how it comes out. Okay guys, next step, I'm going to start cutting out these little triangular bulkheads that I made. These are basically going to give shape to the top and bottom pieces. Give it a little bit of a small angle to it, so it should take shape and hold it once it's glued on there. So I'm going to cut those out, and we'll start gluing them on to the top and bottom pieces. Okay guys, next up I started cutting all the bevel cuts on the main wing. Basically there's one on the top side, because the main wing's basically going to bend at an angle, kind of like that. There'll be like a little bulkhead to hold it at that angle when I get ready to glue it. But before I do that, basically I'm going to flip it over. On the bottom side of the wing is not painted. I'm going to leave it white so that it has a contrast from the top side, so it's easier to tell when I'm flying which side is up and which side is down. But basically I'm getting ready to set the angles of the wingtip vertical stabilizers. Basically I cut a double 45-degree bevel cut here. Then I'm going to be using this angle template tool I made here. Roughly it's set at 107 degrees. So I'm going to put some hot glue down inside the two bevel cuts and then just flip it up and hold it like that until it dries. So let me get started with that. We'll glue it together, then we'll move on with building the plane. Okay guys, the hot glue is dried now on the vertical stabilizers on the wingtips. As you can see, they're held at the right angle of 107 degrees. Okay guys, as you can see here, I got the main wing pretty much all finished. It's all glued together with the proper angles. I got these little bulkheads on the wing here. This kind of holds the wing at the right angle here. And it's basically just going to glue onto the bottom piece, as you can see here, like that. And then I've actually got another centerpiece that will go on top like that. And then the top piece will fit on top of that. Okay guys, I'm getting ready to attach the elevons to the airplane. Real quick, to make the elevons a little more rigid and stiff and durable, I just covered the bottom with strapping tape, cross sleeve strapping tape, and on the top it's covered with the regular clear tape. And then I'm going to be attaching it to the plane. I'm just going to be making some hinges out of tape, and I'm going to be using the over and under kind of a tape hinge method. Okay guys, got the elevons all attached. Like I said, I use the over and under tape method. Basically you have dual tape strips here. You run one down below, then you come up from the bottom and then run it on the top on each side of the elevon. It helps hold it nice and secure, and it doesn't have much give up and down. Rather than just putting a piece of tape on top and bottom, it'll be kind of sloppy if you do it that way. If you do the over and under tape method, it makes for nice secure elevons that stay nice and secure without any wiggle in it. Okay guys, we're getting ready to cut out the motor mount for the plane. Basically I'm just going to be using 3/32 basswood. I'm going to be cutting out the pieces that look like this, and then I'll glue it all together, and then we'll mount it to the plane, and then mount the motor to that. Okay guys, got the motor mount all completed. It's glued together with epoxy, and actually I have some strapping tape kind of wrapped around it. That was basically just to keep the glue inside when it was drying, and also it'll make it a little bit stronger. But basically it just is going to be hot glued into the back of the plane like that. Then the motor will attach to the back of that. Okay guys, I'm getting ready to start putting in the electronics into the plane. Basically for the test plane I'm going to be starting off with a smaller motor. I'm just going to be using a typical 2212-6 2200 kV motor, and I'm going to be using a 30 amp ESC, and basically I just got my Airtronics 5-channel receiver. Near the front of the plane, this is kind of a development in progress, this plane. I had to adjust where the battery was going to go. It's actually needed to go a little farther forward than I initially anticipated, so I'll make some adjustments on the final plans when I get to it. So I screwed the battery forward, and I built a little battery tray. This is where the battery will be sitting. I'm going to be using a 2200 milliamp battery, 3S LiPo pack. It's a little bit bigger. I wanted to keep it light with only a 1350, but I needed the heavier battery to get the CG correct. Okay guys, got all the electronics set up. I've got the servos connected to the elevons. I also did a quick watt meter test on the motor. It's running a 6x4 prop on 3S, and it pulled 299 watts at 25 amps. So it's pretty much ready to go. I just need to glue on the top of the fuselage, then we'll be ready to take it out for a test flight. Okay guys, I got the cockpit all pretty much put together, and I put a layer of gray paint on it. Now I taped it off with some painter's tape, and I'm going to use some black gloss paint and paint the area where the actual cockpit glass should be. Okay guys, here's a look at the completed finished Foam Fighter Bird of Prey, or FF-BOP. This was a pretty interesting build for me. It was definitely something different than any of the other planes I've built. I'm pretty happy with the way it came out. There's definitely some adjustments I'm going to have to do to the plans that I noticed while building this first prototype. So if this proves a test fly pretty good, then I'll go back and edit the plans and get it more dialed in and fixed the way I want it and the way I actually ended up building it this way. Okay guys, well we got the plane pretty much finished up. So I guess we'll end it here for part 1 of the video series. But please stay tuned. I'm going to be getting the plane out to the park very soon and posting a video of the maiden flights. Okay, so take care guys, and see you guys soon.